Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Mod Life. If you've seen the last video, you'd have seen that I recently picked up a new car. Next is GS430, man. Listen, to all them haters in the game, you need yourself a V8. Awesome, man. It's wicked. So I've had the car now for, well, I suppose a week exactly today. There's been a few little things which obviously we're up with the car, which I've had to sort out, and there's a few things which I'm going to be doing as well. But I just thought I'd give you sort of a bit of an update, really, and show you a couple of things that I've done and a couple of things that I'm going to be doing. So stay tuned, that's what's coming up next. Right guys, so seeing as we're inside the car, I thought I'd just stick with the theme of inside, and I'll show you the things that I've done inside already. So the first thing is, you remember I said it had LPG. Well, originally the LPG gauge was in here, and it sat just there. Now, the problem was, it was fine there, wasn't in the way or anything, but this is the view that I have when I'm driving. So it was obviously there, couldn't see it at all for love of money, so I decided to move it to over here. Focus. So normally this is, there's a gap here, that there's nothing actually in there. So what I did is I drilled a hole and I moved it, sort of reran the wiring from over here, looped it all the way through back over here, and it is now, focus, it is now here. Which means while I'm driving, I can just sort of look across and there it is. Whereas here you couldn't really see it unless you kind of went while you were driving, which isn't really very good. So that was the first thing that I did. The second thing I did, I'm just going to go ahead and turn the key. Now this is, I'll just turn that down. This was something that was fairly simple but was really annoying, and that is these gear indicator lights here. So as you can see, if I go from reverse, or park to reverse, neutral, drive, fourth, third, second and low, or first. None of those lights were actually lighting up to start with, which made it quite annoying when you were sort of on the motorway or driving around and you just wanted to kind of drop it. If you know you're in fifth, you whack it in fourth, third, and sort of going back up. It was very difficult to see what gear you're actually in without physically sort of looking at the gear stick, which isn't very helpful at all. At first I thought it might have been a bulb, but then in actual fact, because there are all of those lights, none of them were working. And I thought that was probably a little bit strange that none of them were working. So I kind of discounted the bulb straight away. So the only thing I could do really was I had to take the whole instrument panel out. Really quite straightforward. I'm not going to take it out again on camera, but essentially you just grab here, pull this top cover off. There's 4 screws. Undo those 4 screws, the actual instrument panel behind then comes out. A couple of plugs in the back and you pull it out. What actually happened is when I took it all apart, I couldn't see anything wrong with it. I checked the that row of what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That row of 8 bulbs wasn't actually bulbs. They were a little circuit board with 8 LEDs physically welded, well not welded, soldered onto the board. Which I thought was really funny. It's quite difficult to tell whether an LED is actually blown or anything. They very rarely blow, and certainly wasn't expecting all 8 of them to have blown. So essentially when I took it all apart, I realised that there was actually a tiny ribbon connection which wasn't pushed all the way in. So because that was the only thing that I could see that could be the case, I put everything back together, pushed that connection back on properly, put it all back together, and the lights started to work. So happy days. That was a nice easy fix. I'll just spin this round for you as well. Now you can see obviously all of the lights are on the dash. I'll just go ahead and start it quickly. So you can see now that obviously forget about the seatbelt light. That's just haven't got my seatbelt on, and the door is because the boot is currently open. Check engine light, obviously never good. Actually, it turns out that is an O2 sensor, which I knew about when I bought the car. The guy did mention that it needed an O2 sensor, and it is actually on the passenger side rear. So that's going to be something which we're going to be doing in the next few days. The other thing is a very common problem, that is the VSC off ABS and the VSC lights. These all come on together, and again that's just the handbrake, we can turn that off. Those three lights are a fairly common problem on Lexuses, not just on the GS 430s or the 300s, but across the board. Now, it's the vehicle stability control essentially, so the traction control. You'll notice here we've got a little button which you can press and hold and does absolutely nothing. And the reason is because the whole system is off. Now, it was advertised with those lights on, so I wasn't just buying it on a whim and that happened. That was already when I bought the car. Basically do a little bit of research, and it's quite a common issue, and it is to do with the ABS sensor. What can happen with these is when the bottom ball joints fail, they can collapse, and sometimes it can catch on the wiring, damage the wiring or the sensor. And in the advert, the guy had actually already said that it had 2 new front shock absorbers and 2 new bottom ball joints because the passenger side had collapsed. So I was kind of confident that that would have been the issue, that it was damaged wiring or a damaged sensor. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it is just the wiring and not actually the sensor itself. We're going to be covering that possibly in the next video, and it probably will be the next video for the Lexus. It might not be the next video that comes out on the channel. We'll see what happens. But essentially it's quite an easy thing to check. We basically jack it up, take the wheel off. First thing we do is a visual inspection to see if there's any obvious damage to the wiring or the sensor. If everything checks out visually, we'll be using a multimeter to check the resistance and the continuity of the wires, and then we can decide whether it's just a case of taking, you know, a little bit of the outer sheathing off and resoldering some wires together, or whether we need to change the sensor itself. As I say, fingers crossed it's not the sensor, because obviously that's going to cost a lot more money than 10 minutes with a soldering gun, so we'll see what happens with that. Inside, what else is there? I think inside that's pretty much it. There is one thing which is slightly annoying, and that is, you can see we have all this lovely sort of black finish here. For some bizarre reason, this is green and this is green, everything else is black. So at some point we are going to have to try and track down the sort of black wood effect gear stick and ashtray. Minor but slightly annoying. Dirty habit, get rid of them. You can also see here some of the chroming is coming off around the outside. We're going to try and find another one of these in chrome. If not, we will take this one off and just wrap that in some carbon fibre effect. I'm not sure how I feel about using carbon fibre effect wrap in the car, because obviously being the sport version and not the top spec, there's a lot of chrome around it, so I don't know whether that would look a bit silly to just have that tiny bit of carbon fibre, but we'll see. So that's pretty much everything on the interior, I think. I don't think there's anything else in here that I needed to do. Oh, there is something else we're going to be doing which is really quite interesting. Obviously I have a tape player. Now, these were probably out of date when the car was made. We do have a CD changer here in the glove box, but the tape player is basically completely useless, so this just is never going to get used. You can buy adapters which sort of basically go as a cassette. They go in, have a little auxiliary lead coming out, and you can plug your phone and stuff into that. My experience, they're not very good sound quality, they're not very good quality in general, and they don't really work, and they're not very tidy. So we're going to be adventurous. I'm actually going to rip all of that out, and I'm going to solder in some connections to the tape player using the test board, and we're going to run basically some wires and some power up, and I'm going to use this space here where the gas or the LPG gauge was, and I'm going to put a little auxiliary port and a USB charging port in there, so we'll be able to charge our phones, plug our phones in, and be able to play music using all the controls. Well, you'll control your phone through your phone, but essentially it will come through the tape player. So when we press tape, it will actually enable the auxiliary port, which will be up there. It's actually a really straightforward thing to do. It takes a bit of balls because we have to take the tape player apart physically to get inside the gubbins. But it's going to bring the car up to date, allow us to add Bluetooth and things like that. And the parts to do it basically came to, I was about £8 or £9, something like that. So yeah, really cost effective, and it's probably only going to take us, I don't know, maybe half an hour of time to do. So again, stay tuned, I'll do an episode just on that completely on its own. Because although we're doing it in a Lexus, this is something that you can do on any other car. If you don't want to sort of be ripping out the standard stereo and stuff. Because obviously I have to use that because it controls everything. So if I was to take that out, I would also lose parts of the functionality of this and the CD changer as well. So I want to keep all of that, but I also want to have, you know, the ability to plug my phone in and use Bluetooth and stuff. So stay tuned, we'll be doing a full episode on that. So yeah, I think now we can probably move on to the outside. Okay, so moving on to the outside. Again, when I mentioned that there was a ball joint collapse, it obviously caught this little bit of trim here, so we're going to take that trim off and just get that back on, touch up that little bit of damaged paintwork there. The headlights have gone milky and cloudy. I've done a video before on how to clean these with toothpaste. We're going to be doing another one soon on how to clean them properly. These I'm not going to do that. I'm actually just going to replace them with some LED units. One of the main things on the exterior that I had to do was the aerial. Basically, you can see there it's bent. I don't know if I can pull out the rest of it, but it was broken just inside there. It won't focus. And it wouldn't go up and down, so it's kind of stuck on the piss hanging out. The reason being is this is the wire that is normally attached like that, and that is obviously what coils up around the motor. You can see mine here was broken in two pieces actually. That bit had come off and that had snapped off the bottom. There are 1,000,001 videos on YouTube on how to replace electric aerial masts, so I'm not going to bother going into it. It's really simple, and it's literally a 5-minute job. So here is the old one. You actually see here, this radio mast is or aerial mast is not the correct one for this car, but it is a Toyota one, and the mast was basically the same. It was a little bit shorter, but that didn't actually matter in the end. So I actually took out the entire motor, which is located just behind here. If you pull this panel down, you can see it's just poking up there. Put that back. So I actually took out the entire motor. I pulled the aerial mast out of this, but I couldn't get this bit from there to actually lock into the mechanism inside here, so I actually ended up having to take this whole thing apart, coil the new one of these up, put it inside, slide the mast through, and it all works. So now when we turn the key, the aerial comes up automatically rather than being stuck halfway, which is really nice. Once we turn it off, it goes down. Fairly simple and straightforward, I know, but little things like that. Since owning it as well, the parking sensors have stopped working. Now these are an aftermarket kit, so rather than trying to figure out why they're not working, we're just going to buy a new set. They're literally like 20 quid for a kit. You can spend a bit more if you want to and get like a little screen and display. I don't need any of that, I just want it to beep. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to rip all of that out and replace it. Again, not going to be doing that today. Today we're going to be doing two things. Now the first thing is we're going to be changing the air filter. It's had a service, an oil service. It's had the oil and the filter done, but the air filter itself was a little bit mucky, so I bought a new one. We're going to be chucking that in. But more importantly, wind deflectors, something that we don't have at the moment. You've probably noticed this box, and in here we have obviously got all of it here. One. Both the rears are there. Oh no, that's just some crap. So yeah, basically we are going to be fitting these, and they go in there like that. This is going to be really hard to do one-handed, so I'm going to switch over to the GoPro. We'll start on the passenger side, and we'll let you know how we get on. But essentially, I'll tell you what, let me just pull one out quickly. You'll see there are some self-adhesive sticky pads, and then some little clips which clip on. But keep watching and you'll see me fit them. So, here is the finished product. Not only does I think it improve the look of the car a little bit, but obviously they're really handy. Keeping wind and rain out. Also, if you're cursed like myself and you're a smoker, no smoker should be without these in their vehicle. If you drive a lot and you're a car person and you're a smoker, you need wind deflectors in your life. It is that simple. I don't know really what else to tell you. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward job. I would have really liked to have got the original Toyota ones. And the difference with them is they actually come across the outside of the window here. And then they go all the way sort of across and over the top. And I believe the original Toyota ones come back sort of to that here as well. There were two problems with the original Toyota ones. The first problem I had with the original Toyota ones is you can't find them. Second hand, they're like hen's teeth, and if I was going to buy some new, I think the only place I could actually order them from was somewhere in the States, and they wanted, like, after import duty and tax and everything else, it worked out to be something like £200. These were £30, 30 Great British pounds, which in dollars is like, I don't know, these days probably $40. So a winner, you cannot go wrong. So I'm really happy with that. I suppose now the next thing to do is just to see how they perform and see if they're any good, really. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the air filter. Here is underneath the engine bay. It's actually a really clean engine bay, or well, rust free. However, it is a little dirty, so stuff like this needs good clean. We'll clean that up. Not really a lot else to tell you, to be honest, other than that it's a 4.3 litre VVTi V8. So the air filter is located in here. Dead simple, really. Got a clip there, 2 clips there, clip that off, pull it open, and swap the filter for the new one. Fresh. Oh, yeah, man, you can see that's all sorts of crud and not helping the engine breathe very much. So, in true mod lifestyle, get rid of the old and in with the new. And it is done. You wouldn't even notice, but it's done. One other thing which I'm not going to be doing now, I'm going to be doing this when it's dark, is my headlights need adjusting. Now these actually have self-leveling headlights, which means if you've got weight or load at the back, the headlights will self-adjust. But they need to come up just a little bit. Now there's no adjustment inside the car, so basically there are a couple of little, you'll see one just there, and one just there, and basically all you do is you take your screwdriver, Phillips, and you put it in, and you just sort of twist it one way or the other. Now I'm not entirely sure which way's up, which way's down, or how much I'd be adjusting them. So we're going to wait till it's dark, park in front of a wall, and then we'll be able to adjust them up and down. I think really for today that's pretty much it. Okay, as I was just about to close the bonnet, I've just had a thought about something which I want your advice. I want you people watching to tell me what you think I should do, because I can't quite make up my mind. Should I debadge it? I'll take the badge out of the front grille. So it's really simple, it's just held on by a couple of clips which will inevitably break. The top one, which should be there, is broken off, but you've got 2 here. I'm going to close the bonnet up. Do you think it'd look better with or without the Lexus badge? I think it'd look pretty good without. Leave your comments in the below. Tell me what you think. Should I take it off or should I leave it in? Let me know and I will do exactly what you guys decide. Next thing we need to do is get some tints on the go. We'll be doing that soon shortly as well. In the meantime, guys, thanks very much for watching. Listen, if you like what we're doing, if you like obviously the content and you want to see some more, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We've got loads of videos coming on the Lexus and all the other cars that you've seen on the channel as well. We're going to hopefully step up our game a little bit this summer and make sure we get you some more content, get your videos flying out. Not for you really, I'm lying, it's for me. I just need to get shit sorted, but I want you to come along and I want you to watch. So thanks very much for watching. Peace.